welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Alex, and today I am yet again going to be talking about my favorite genre, science fiction, and what I believe are the top 10 timeless sci-fi tropes. What is the purpose of this video, you may ask? Well, I want your recommendations. The holidays are here. Christmas is rapidly approaching, and for those of you who have been watching my channel, you know that I'm in a no-buy year for books. So the only way that I can acquire new books is for them to be gifted to me. And I was requested by Keaton and by my family to provide a Christmas list of the books that I might like. And so that's where you come in. You all have provided many wonderful recs on my other video, Top 10 Must-Read Sci-Fi Books as of 2023. Every single one of those books is on a wish list, believe it or not, but there is a difference between saying this book is a classic and should be read by everyone, this book was written by the masters, this is a book that I read a long time ago that I think you would like, and a book that is tailored just for me. I'm going to go through all 10 of the tropes, and for each trope I will provide you an example of books or maybe TV shows or movies that I've really loved that fit within the vein of that trope. I will also be making a video of my top 10 tropes for horror, so I'm going to be wanting horror recommendations as well. And the best part of it is, when I select my top choices from your all's recommendations, I will actually be making a video where I share with you what my Christmas list is for this year. But here's the thing, my Christmas list can only be so long. I'm not going to provide a list of like 100 books to my family for them to choose from. So the way that this works is I'm going to go through the comments, I will write down every single recommendation and what trope that is supposed to be for, and I will hand pick one book per trope to make it onto the list. So what I'm hoping from you is not only that you'll provide a recommendation, say what trope it is that you're recommending for, but also give a brief little elevator pitch, 2 to 3 sentences at most, of why you think that book is the one for me. I think this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to see what you all put down in the comments. So here we go. My first trope is actually 2 tropes, and that's aliens, because I like my aliens in 2 varieties. The first trope is aliens we're at war against. They seem incomprehensible and complex. They have their own societies and language and culture, but somehow, for some reason, they're at odds with us. Bonus points if we get to see from the aliens' point of view. I'm talking A Desolation Called Peace, I'm talking Orson Scott Card, something where we're at war with them, but there's more to the aliens than meets the eye. And the second trope, of course, then has to be aliens as our friends. We go on adventures with them, we share some sort of galactic society. Perhaps humanity is the most recent alien race to be welcomed into the fold and we're trying to prove ourselves. For reference, my favorite universe with the alien races and the enemies and just the way that society is structured is Mass Effect. The Reapers are probably my favorite enemy race of all time. And yes, I do know Mass Effect is a video game, so, you know, video game portrayal and book portrayal are going to be a little bit different, but they did create novels for the Mass Effect universe as well as comics. So if you can provide me a recommendation that's similar pretty much at all to Mass Effect, I'm going to be a huge fan. I also enjoy the Star Trek universe, and Star Wars, of course, is a classic, so you get the idea, this society where we're in it together, some stuff's going down, and we have to figure out how to solve it. Trope number 3 is isolated colony. I love stories where humanity has left Earth, we've started spreading out either in the solar system or in the galaxy, and each place that we move to kind of creates its own culture. So you might have a character who was born out on an asteroid for a mining colony, and everybody in that colony is really tall and they can't handle the gravity of Earth. Or maybe you have characters who come from a planet with high radiation, so everybody has to wear these special suits, and even when they travel off planet, they still wear their suits. A really good example of how the mining colony idea was done was in Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey, because they have the Belters. And the Belters are their own community, they have their own language, they have their own hand gestures, and they're kind of at odds with everybody else because the other human colonies on Mars and on Earth look down on them. And I really enjoyed them. They were one of my favorite parts of this book. Or it could be a society that has created some sort of technology that they're trying to keep secret from everyone else. Or maybe it's just a society that hates outsiders. That's cool too. Trope number 4 is humans with genetic mutations. Now, I want to specify genetic mutations, not cybernetic. I've read William Gibson's Neuromancer. I'm very familiar with this cyberpunk idea, but I want books where we have humans who are expressing some sort of gene in a unique way, or maybe they've been genetically modified to almost not really be human anymore. And a good example of that would be Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood, though the genetic mutation took kind of a back seat in this book because it wasn't really about them, it was more about our character Snowman. So if you can give me one that's really focused on the mutations, I think I would probably like that. Trope number 5 is plagues, viruses, and fungi. This one in particular I have a great affection for because it usually blends in elements of horror. And what's better than sci-fi or horror? Sci-fi horror. So it could be an instance where a plague has broken out on a ship, like in Illuminae or maybe Cloud Cuckoo Land. It could be that a virus is rampaging across Earth and the people who are left behind are having a really hard time of it. Or it could be some sort of fungi that is taking over people's bodies and it starts kind of controlling them. I like it all. Give me all of it. And I did sit and think about this because technically this trope, being a sci-fi horror, is going to end up on both lists, both for this video and for the horror video. So I'm actually going to select 2 books from this trope because I think that would be fun. Trope number 6 is going to be robots and AI. Now, this could be robots as friends, like Jenkins from City by Clifford D. Simic, or it could be a rogue AI, or maybe it's about robots that are being integrated into society and it ends up producing all of these questions about what it means to be a person and what it means to be alive. So you have some choices here. It could be thrilling, it could be cozy, it could be philosophical, it could be some blending of those things. The most recent example I have of a book of that nature was The Mountain in the Sea, which had a character named Evram, who was the very first ever synthetic person, and I loved them. I thought that that book was fantastic, and it was very philosophical. I also want to note really quickly that I do own copies of I, Robot and 2001: A Space Odyssey, so if those were going to be your recommendations for robot or AI books, I already have those covered. Trope number 7 is going to be a classic sci-fi staple, and that is time travel. I will be kind of picky about time travel though, because I want time travel that has very clearly defined rules. Rules provide stakes. If an author goes and they're able to create some sort of loophole in their system where they can put their characters in a situation and then kind of just wave it away and be like, oh no, look, they're fine. I'm not a fan of that. I want there to be some sort of tension with the time travel mechanic. Really good examples of this are Recursion by Blake Crouch and the book I'm currently reading, which is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. It is also perfectly acceptable for your time travel book to be Einstein's theory of relativity. Time for you is not the same as time for me. And my current favorite example of that is The Vanished Birds. Trope number 8 is going to be parallel universe or multiverse. I love watching a character try to navigate a world that is slightly different than their own. Maybe they end up running into alternate versions of themselves. They end up discovering the subtle and unique ways that this world that they're in is strange. It can also be really fun to see how 2 different versions of the same person would react to the same situation. My most recent example of a book I love that had this trope was Dark Matter, and it was done so well. So if you can give me another recommendation that would be similar to Dark Matter, I would love that. Trope number 9 is going to be the generation ship. I love a good generation ship or station where they have to be self-sustaining. They have to grow their own food and have their own life support. And you have all of these people who are in this confined space and they have to find some way to carve out a little section for themselves. They have to find ways to entertain themselves. They also usually have a very strong sense of protocol because there's nothing between them and the vacuum of space but a couple of walls. So the nature of their lives is inherently dangerous. And one really good example of this is Record of a Spaceborne Few, where in here they talk about how the station gets rid of their dead with composting, or how everyone on the ship has to perform certain jobs before they will get reassigned. The culture in here was very strong. You get a great sense of what these people are about and how important their structure is to them. 10 out of 10. And last but certainly not least, at number 10 is going to be found family. This trope is not unique to sci-fi, I know that, but I do love a good found family story in a sci-fi setting. Something where we have this lovable cast of characters who have a mission to complete. The world's against them, they're misunderstood, they're usually the underdogs, but they're this plucky group of people that's all fiercely protective of one another. And maybe something happens in the story where one or more of them are lost in some sort of tragic fashion. An example of this that I really loved is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. And that is it for my top 10 timeless sci-fi tropes. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I also hope that you will leave me a comment down below with a recommendation of your own. Hopefully you'll also want to come and check out my top 10 horror tropes when I end up posting that video. I'm going to do my best to try to get that out next week. Until then, as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, that you all stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.